We've seen an alarming increase in state repression against groups that are speaking out and defending their rights. Half the Sky has supported the defense of the Uhuru Three, a group of activists from the Uhuru Solidarity Movement and the African People's Socialist Party who are wrongly accused of being foreign agents. Their case sets a precedent that the U.S. state can increase the targeting of activists and organizers here domestically. It ultimately shows the power and urgency of organizing for a system that respects the rights and welfare of all people and gives us true democratic power. Copeland is not the first human rights defender from the U.S. to be targeted by the Philippine state. As mentioned before, Brandon Lee had an attempted assassination attempt under the Duterte government, while others have been red tagged while traveling in the Philippines. So I have a question. Why do the U.S. and Philippine governments work so hard to discredit and barricade activists fighting for human rights? That's because the U.S. and the Philippines have human rights violations. They're guilty of human rights violations. Almost exactly 10 years ago to this day, 19-year-old Marine, U.S. Marine, Joseph Scott Pemberton killed Jennifer Laude, a trans Filipina, while stationed in the Philippines for military exercises. While he was found guilty of manslaughter, the U.S. military ensured that he never spent a day in the Philippines prison. Instead, he was held in custody on a U.S. EDCA site. After multiple appeals, the Duterte administration pardoned Pemberton, claiming that the Philippines had done too much to harm him, and he was sent home with a clean record. Why does the U.S. and Philippine state protect a murderer but try to kill and blacklist those speaking truth and exposing these conditions? Why does our own senator refuse to listen to the stories of those being killed and attacked by the U.S. Marco administration? At the end of October, Hillary Clinton will be here on a book tour in Portland. And she touts herself as a champion of democracy. But we know who the true champions of democracy are. Those who organize, fight, and dare to take the greatest risks for the liberation of the oppressed. And we want to invite everyone here to mobilize with us against Hillary Clinton and her false narrative of progress, to uplift those who are truly fighting for genuine change in the interest of the majority of people. Half the Sky knows that fighting for human rights and national sovereignty by oppressed peoples is core to the fight for a genuine women's liberation. That's right! So Half the Sky and the International Women's Alliance take seriously the need to denounce the repression of human rights defenders and demand that Merkley take the side of his constituents. We say no to the blacklisting and targeting of activists and organizers who are fighting for justice within the U.S. Imperial Corps and around the world. Thank you.
Justice for Brandon Lee!
Justice for Brandon Lee!
Justice for Brandon Lee!
Justice for Brandon Lee!
Next, I would like to introduce and welcome Daphne to speak on behalf of Malaya.
Magandang hapon sa ating lahat! Good afternoon to us all! My name is Daphne and I am a member of Malaya Movement. We are an organization fighting for genuine democracy, respect for human rights, and sovereignty in the Philippines. So I am looking forward to talking to you today about what Marcos Jr. is trying to hide from the world by not allowing human rights defenders like Copeland into our borders. So at Malaya USA, we recently sent members home to the Philippines to immerse in communities and see the day-to-day impacts of the U.S. Marcos regime. Our members saw the resilience of the Filipino people, and we know this. We see this all the time in the news, especially when there are natural disasters. But we didn't just see resilience. We also saw, as other speakers have mentioned, resistance. And it is a necessary resistance because Marcos Jr.'s fascist violence may be quiet, but it is worse than ever. Marcos talks about developing a bagong Pilipinas, a new Philippines with improved infrastructure, utilities, transit, agriculture, but at what cost to the Filipino people? At what cost to our safety and our survival? His bagong Pilipinas is the militarization of every rural barrio participating in collective farming. It is 2 farmers in Masbate killed for preparing copra, adding to the list of 35 farmers that have already been killed in their region since Marcos took office. This bagong Pilipinas is energy and water provided by private-public partnerships that resulted in urban poor homes with not having access to drinking water for 4 days or more, while upscale divisions just across the highway enjoy quality water. In the time of his father, Marcos Sr., the Filipino people saw their urban poor homes razed to the ground by bulldozers. Under Bagong Pilipinas, communities are bribed and coerced into self-demolishing their homes and then displaced into tenements with no running water and no power. Marcos' Pilipinas is longtime jeepney drivers and troopers losing their livelihood to imported e-jeeps and franchises colluded with private corporations. Marcos' Pilipinas is the blatant killing and disappearances of students, farmers, worker leaders, organizers who survived his father's dictatorship and continued their advocacy into their old age. The dream of Bagong Pilipinas is activist widows having nightmares every night of their loved ones' blood smeared across the floor of their office. His Bagong Pilipinas is the continuation of Duterte's war on drugs. We spoke to one mother whose son and his pregnant girlfriend had been killed by Duterte's war on drugs, and she has not seen any justice under Bongbong Marcos' regime. Nasaan ang tunay na Bagong Pilipinas? There is no such thing as a new Philippines. There is just a fascist, US-backed regime that is denying the cries of its people. Marcos, by robbing the Filipino people of their wages, their right to livelihood, and their right to water and land, is the top creator of human rights defenders. Since the Philippines can no longer be our physical home to me and millions of Filipino migrants across the world due to poverty and repression, it is the struggle for genuine democracy and sovereignty that has become home for us. And this home is fortified by solidarity, which is what Copeland and US have been doing relentlessly since their founding. So this is Malaya's message to the US Marcos regime. We are not afraid of you. Where there is oppression of communities and workers fighting for their rights, that is the material basis for change. So Markley, what side of history will you be on? What will you use your power on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for? Because the power of the people is here. It is in Lupang Ramos, it is in Southern Tagalog, and in Bulacan, in Cavite, and in the mountains of Mindanao, and we will not stop fighting to defend the rights of everyone who is defending the people till their very last breath.